We are going to continue our series on the universal laws of success. And tonight we're covering our last and final law, and that is the law of gender. So, as soon as you jump on here, whether you're catching this live stream now or whether you're catching it later in the replay, just know that the information that's being shared here is timeless. So, anytime you either go back to watch this information or anytime you pick up this live stream, and you get the information on it, just know that it's still relevant at the time that you watch it. So as soon as you jump on here, let me know that you can hear me, let me know that you can see me, and then I will start the content and know that everything is all good. Okay, whether you're watching us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube, thank you for being here tonight. We're going to be covering our final law, and that is the law of gender. And I'm so excited to cover the law of gender. Law of gender talks about masculine and feminine energy. Plain and simply put, hey, beautiful princess over on Instagram, thank you for joining us. The law of gender covers everything that has to do with masculine and feminine energy and its ability to be balanced or imbalanced. And so tonight, we are going to actually make sure that you understand what masculine and feminine energy is all about and how to determine whether you are imbalanced and needing to add more energy, less energy, or something like that. So as soon as you join this live stream, let me know that you can hear me. Let me know that you can see me by typing it in the comments, and then I will get started with the content. I know it's probably a little bit delayed, right? It is a Monday night, so people are wrapping things up. People are doing quite a few things, but thank you so much for being here. One of the things, thank you so much for letting me know that. So I'm going to jump into the content. One of the things that I want us to be aware of, a couple of reminders are, number one, if you want to be able to not only get the slides, but you want to be able to get digital recipe cards from me, you want to be able to get affirmations from me, you want to be able to get some daily encouragement and some things to keep you going once this final live stream is done, you want to text hashtag legacy to 404-738-6301. That's 404-738-6301. You want to text hashtag legacy to that. And it'll start giving you information, affirmations each night, some great things during today. I think today, one of the things that we did was we stopped and meditated at several different times throughout the day. So those individuals who did text in had an opportunity for me to hold space for them and some of the things that they're looking to manifest. Okay. Somebody says you are just straight brilliance. Thank you so much for saying that. This is dope. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So that being said, if you haven't already yet, please share this live stream out. Sharing is caring. Let somebody else get this information. We know we are what we attract. So make sure that you share this out so that someone else can get the information here. Okay. So as we are looking at the universal law of gender, there are a few things I want to cover concerning this law. Hey, Suzanne, thank you for sharing this out. Before we do, though, the last reminder I want to tell you about is the one concerning enrollment for cohort 33. Cohort 33 is now open, and we not only have grants for individuals who will be enrolling in this cohort, but we also have the ability for individuals to finance with Klarna and it's with Klarna and it's with Affirm. So if you're wanting to go back to school to become a board certified health coach, now is an incredible time to do that, right? There are always government and federal conversations happening about health coaches. So if you haven't looked at what a health coach is, what a health coach does, what the career path is, and how they seamlessly integrate into the medical system as another board certified health professional, you want to check that out to determine if it's a great fit for you. Okay. And so if you're wanting information and you're wanting us to give you information as a school, you can go to discoverlegacy.info. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into the content concerning of the law of gender. Now, this is our final universal law. Round of applause, especially for me, you guys, because I have not been able to go live every single day in a very long time or consistently over a series of days for a very long time. So the ability to be able to get through this series as seamlessly, I think, as we did, has just been nothing short of amazing. And I've truly enjoyed it. And so when we're talking about the law of gender tonight, the law of gender is one of my favorite universal laws for several different reasons. We've already covered the law of vibration. We've covered the law of attraction. We've covered the law of divine oneness. We've covered the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. We've already covered the law of cause and effect, the law of polarity. We're covering the law of gender tonight. We've covered already the law of rhythm, law of inspired action, the law of compensation, as well as the law of relativity and the law of correspondence. Okay. So the last universal law that is being covered tonight is the law of gender. Now, if you missed any of those other laws, you can go to legacywellnesstribe.com. It will drop you into that Facebook group, and you will be able to see either at the top of your cell phone, at the top of your handheld device, or on your computer. You will see all of the videos in the series pinned to the top of the group for easy access. So if you're up late at night, like most people are, and they binge watch these videos or commenting at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., right? If you're up late at night and you see these videos, make sure you watch them. All right, let's jump into the law of gender. So when we're talking about the universal laws, we've already said the universal laws are intrinsic, they are unchanging, they are unyielding, they do not necessarily concern themselves with who we are, how we want to operate, but these laws are naturally laws that govern the universe, and they are intuitive for us as human beings on this planet. And so when we're thinking about the laws and living inside of the law, right, we understand that as we live inside of the laws, so many other things happen for us, and it's so much easier to manifest things inside of the law. Where you find massive, consistent success, you will always find someone living inside of the universal laws, okay? And so as we look at the law of gender tonight, there's a few things that we want to be aware of. And one of those things is the fact that the law states that we all have the potential to express both masculine and feminine energy. And both can be found within everybody, regardless of their gender makeup, regardless of their sex, whether they are female or male, right? These energies work together for us to have balance. And in this balance is how we manifest. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about what that means tonight and some questions that you can ask yourself. I'm going to take you guys through a couple of scenarios that will help you understand whether you normally lean towards masculine energy or whether you normally lean towards feminine energy. And you may find that you're a little bit of a mix of both, right? And so if you're watching this, no matter where you're watching it from, make sure you share it out so someone else can get the information, because you want the people around you and in your community to be able to determine how they're living inside of this law of gender. And that the law of gender is always wanting to express itself in a balanced and harmonious way. And whenever that doesn't happen, then we find resistance. We find someone being stifled. We find someone not being as creative as they could be. And so we're going to talk through a few of these things tonight so you understand how this law works, okay? Now, I would say this law works in tandem with the law of correspondence. It works in tandem with the law of rhythm as well. How we express ourselves, what we attract, what we're mirroring out. And I'm going to give you some examples of that, some really common examples of that. And so this law is known as the law of yin and yang. This law is known as the law of yin and yang, having those two energies that can match and that can balance, right? Having those two energies that can match and that can actually balance. That is what we're looking to have happen with the law of gender. And so nature requires both masculine and feminine energy. Nature requires both. And so we can think of this as nature also requiring both men and women, right? Universal law states that we have to have both energies. and we must express both energies in a healthy manner. And so we're going to talk about what it looks like to have unhealed masculine energy, what it looks like to have unhealed feminine energy, and what we attract, or the way we balance these energies out, or the way we bring these energies into a space of harmony, how that begins to allow us to then manifest everything that we need. And we're going to talk a little bit about where people get hung up, whether they're being too feminine, because there is a such thing as being too feminine, or whether they're being too masculine, and where they can start to balance these things out. And we'll talk about which one you need to express more, and what are the signs that you're too feminine, what are the signs that you're too masculine, or that a man might not be masculine enough, and some of the things that might need to happen. Okay. And so to achieve balance, we have to tap into the energy we are not comfortable with, right? Universe is all about change, it's all about growth, it's all about evolution. Infinite source, infinite intelligence wants to express itself through us using these of laws of the universe. And so when we already talked about the fact that there will be challenges in this lifetime, that's not something that we can avoid. And so now that we know that this is something that is true, we must be aware of the fact that both energies have to be expressed, and you can be sure that our manifestation, the thing that we truly desire, is tied to the energy that feels the least comfortable for us. Okay. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. And so one provides, you can look at this as one providing the seed and the other one providing the means of fertilization. Right. And so you cannot have one without the other. They both must work together in order for there to be growth, there to be expansion. Okay. And so when we're looking at this, we want to understand that balance is about knowing the different seasons to lean more into your masculine energy, or to lean more into your feminine energy, right? There are times, right? The law of rhythm, right? Ebbs and flows, ups and downs, high tides, low tides. There are times where women must be more assertive. They must lean into their masculine energy. And there are times where they must lean into their femininity, where they must lean into being more feminine, coming across as more feminine, right? All of us, right, have to look at how we switch these hats. And what is the time, what is the season to wear or to exhibit one or the other, or one over the other. Okay. And so we have to be able to understand how this law works, because our manifestation, our ability to manifest, is wrapped inside of our ability to balance these two energies. Okay. And so it says balance is about knowing the season to lean into one or the other type. And then the goal is to balance this energy over your lifetime. And so the universe doesn't expect you to be balanced tomorrow, right? But it does expect through your highest and greatest expression for you to be able to understand where the imbalances are and where the healing must happen, so that you can become more balanced, so that we can become more balanced over our lifetime. And so the goal here, besides balancing ourselves out in masculine and feminine energy over our lifetime, is to find our blind spots, find the places that we're afraid to look at. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of things. But before we do, let's take a look at what it means to have healthy, healed, or to be in the presence of healthy, healed masculine energy. Okay. So what that looks like is masculine energy in and of itself is based in knowledge. It is based in the pursuit of knowledge, right? It has to do with application. So not just knowing something, but then moving forward is it's about applying it as well. That's masculine energy, right? Masculine energy takes action. It uses logic. It is practical. It has stability attached to it. It has willpower, focus, drive, and it has It's goal oriented. It's a natural leader, right? It has problem solving attached to all of it, and it's someone who has great big dreams. They have these this it's not necessarily creative, because that's feminine, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But masculine energy, when a person, male or female here, we're not talking about, that kind of gender, right? When a person leans into their masculine energy, they start to be expansive in their thinking. They start to, when a woman starts to think about a woman who's starting a business, right? She may be in her feminine energy in the beginning by being creative, by thinking about what she could do to assist, by thinking about what she could do to multiply whatever it is she's looking to manifest. But she must, at some point, lean into her masculine side to be able to be goal oriented, action oriented, right? Knowledge based, learning, how do I take this creative endeavor to the next level? How do I take it and then say, okay, now I've got to get this done. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, execute. That's masculine energy. So all of us, in order for us to even live or lean into the law of inspired action, remember we covered the divine law of inspired action. The feminine, that law is an excellent example of your ability to exhibit both energies. Inspired action, remember we said an inspired action is not your to-do list. Your inspired action is the ability to wait, and requires flexibility in our lives so that when we are inspired by infinite intelligence, we can then take action, right? So our intuition and the feminine side of our energy allows us to lean into and be cognizant of where the inspired action is coming from. But then our masculine energy is what makes us get up and take action, right? And when a person doesn't take action, they have too much feminine energy, or they're out of balance in some kind of way. Because remember, we talked about the fact that the universe is only going to give us these inspired endeavors once or twice, and then it's going to, that idea, that thing dropped into the planet, then moves itself towards someone who can execute, right? And this is one of the reasons why we see men take off in business, right? You're seeing, right, more women do it now. Who can tell me in the comments why you think that we're seeing more women lean into business, right? And into what's happening to more, with the fact that more women, we have more women business owners worldwide than we have ever had in the existence of this planet. And it's not just here in the States, it's everywhere. It's on every continent. You see women going into their own business or creating their own enterprise, making their own way. You see them stepping further into masculine energy, right? Who can tell me, give me some reasons as to why we're starting to see that, right? Really quickly, I'm running to the comments. Miss Martin, hey, Miss Martin 11 on IG, thank you for being here. Now, if you're watching on IG, just know that there are slides over on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube and some other places. I'm going to read the slides to you so you're getting the exact information that everyone else is getting. But anytime you want to join us and see the slides, you can always go to LegacyWellnessTribe.com. It'll drop you right into that group and give you the information. She says it's more accepted for women to be more masculine. That's a very good observation, Miss Martin. It's more accepted now for women to be more masculine. Yes, the roles of men and women have shifted. The roles of men and women have shifted. What do we see in regard to, besides the shift happening in the women, and they're becoming much more enterprising? They are much more goal-oriented now. They execute on a dime, right? They're more than just creative. They are some goal-getters, right? And so now that we see a lot more of this, what is also happening on the side of the men who normally exhibit high amounts of masculine energy? what is happening on their side? Who can tell me something that they've observed happening on the side of the men, right? And so when we're looking at, while you guys type that, one of the things I want to say is when we're looking at this, we want to make sure that we understand that men are not men, but masculine energy is it considers itself highly motivated, and it enjoys stepping into a crisis. It is naturally a problem solver. And so masculine energy, when it is exhibited, this is the way that it shows up. Okay. This is the way that it shows up. And so when we're looking at this, and we're looking at what would be in an imbalance in masculine energy, right? And so when we run to the comments, Marie says feminine energy is being exhibited more freely. It is, and that's one of the things that's happening with the men, right? With the men, there has been a rise for sure in the ability to exhibit feminine energy. So one of the things that people almost always think, sometimes I think women think this, and y'all tell me if y'all agree or not, but sometimes women think that men aren't vulnerable, that they don't care as much, that they don't hurt emotionally, that they're not on a healing journey, that they're not taking the time to give themselves self-care. Women, because we've always leaned into these things, right? Most women lean into these things. Sometimes we can assume that men don't, or that they don't desire it. And these things, this is just not true. As everything starts to shift on the planet, you can be sure that as women lean more into their masculine energy, and some women are leaning into masculine energy that can be toxic, right? It can be too much. Okay, it can be very toxic. And so one of the things we want to be aware of is that just as there is a rise in women leaning more into their masculine energy, the universe must create balance by allowing there to be a rise of men who lean more into their feminine energy, men who are much more vulnerable, much more emotionally available. So for us to say that this is not what they feel, it is not their truth, it is not true, right? These things are not true. Now, if we are attracting, based on the law of correspondence, if we are attracting men that tend to be emotionally unavailable, that tend to be more into unhealed masculine energy, which is what you see on your screen, always gone all the time, never allow any downtime. They cannot sit still. They have fully booked calendars, never available for anything, to any way to connect or grow, right? Or be around feminine energy. They operate in a black and white world. If you don't do this for me, I'm not going to do it for you. They operate in like a they consider themselves like a type A person, right? And that's where there is too much masculine energy, and they need some form of feminine energy, or to lean into who they are in the feminine aspect, to be able to balance this energy out, right? And it is a sign that male or female, if they exhibit these signs on the screen, that they actually need to take time to determine how to lean into more of their feminine side. And we're going to talk about what that feminine side looks like and what that feminine side is all about. She says, excuse me, the feminine energy is stronger now, showing itself in more men because they are getting more comfortable with emotional expression. They have to, because the women are out here hustling, bustling, and figuring things out on their own. So the universe, and it's not just these tasks, these things, but it's because of the imbalance that has happened with single parent households, with just there's so many things that have been that have made things so imbalanced, right? Remember the law of divine oneness and how we're all connected. So when there's an imbalance, the universe must create balance, right? And because of that, we need the men to lean more into their feminine energy because of what the women are doing. And so someone else says men were looked at as weak if we showed those types of feelings or emotions. That is absolutely true, right? Or they'll assume that they can't take care of themselves, or they're a pushover, or all of these different things, which just simply are not true. They may very well just be a caring human being or just a normal human being altogether. And then someone else says single family heads of household is more feminine. Absolutely, right? Absolutely. And so when we're looking at this, if someone has the top things on this list, they have too much masculine energy, when they're struggling to stay motivated, or when they are uh, chaotic, impulsive, or they feel lost in everything, that means they need to exhibit more masculine energy. Okay. When they say, oh, I feel overwhelmed, I can't keep a schedule, all of these things, they get kind of lost in the sauce of it all, don't really know what direction their life is going. Okay. That's when that person needs to have more masculine energy happen for them, or lean into, according to the law of gender, the universal law, they need to lean into that. And this is devoid of whether or not you're male or female. Okay. So now that we've looked at the healed masculine energy and the imbalanced masculine energy, let's dive a little bit into feminine energy and what that looks like. So when we're looking at feminine energy, healthy feminine energy expresses itself in a few different ways, right? And some people, male or female, are going to find it easier to lean into feminine energy, right? Like, although I can be very assertive in business, I'm naturally feminine, right? Like I like girly stuff, right? I like to be pampered. I love flowers. I love plants. I lean into my femininity. I enjoy being a female this lifetime and everything that comes along with it, right? I love being a woman. And so I lean into that a lot more. And I'm a Cancer, right? By zodiac. So we are literally the mothers of the zodiacs. Capricorns are the fathers, right? But we're the mothers of the zodiac, right? My Cancer isn't, my sun and my moon is in Cancer. So I'm naturally going to be this curvaceous, nails, hair, all this stuff, woman. I'm naturally going to lean into everything that has to do with femininity. Over the years, though, I had to learn to lean into the masculine energy of that I carry, so that I could be assertive in business, so I could speak up and speak freely, right? So I naturally knew, even though I didn't know this law, I naturally knew that I was out of balance and I needed to balance that out, right? Some people, depending on who gets the brunt of this masculine energy for me, might say, but I now know how to lean into that and keep the balance, right? I'm getting better every day. Remember, I said we balance this over time, right? We balance this over our lifetime. You don't wake up tomorrow and you're balanced. That's not how Earth works, right? In reality, and we can think about this in terms of relationships and people we attract, and how we deal with people. No one's ever going to be perfect, because this law says that they're balancing over a lifetime. Over a lifetime, right? So we must give people the space and the grace to be themselves. We absolutely must. Okay. And so when we're looking at this, when we're talking about healthy expression of divine feminine energy, here's what that looks like. It has this knowingness attached to it. It is the intuition that we carry and that we lean into, that gut feeling, that knowing, following that first thought process. It is divine inspiration, right? It is these divine downloads. Whether you're male or female doesn't matter, right? This is what healthy and balanced feminine energy looks like. It's creative. It has passion. It is very nurturing. It is authentic, real, upfront. It has connection, or it craves connection. Think about like a mother with their child, right? When they're disconnected, they crave connection, right? Some people crave connection with their children just because they're at school or down the street or out with friends, right? They can feel if something is going on with their child or their offspring. That's feminine energy. That's naturally feminine energy. Men can feel it too. So they can express this as well. But this is what a healthy balance of healed feminine energy expression looks like. Okay. And so they are nurturing, they're authentic, they are connected, right? They have this open, flowing dynamic. And that has to do with communication, expression of love, the ability to follow their thought processes. They just flow with it, right? They naturally flow into a situation. They don't overthink things, right? They're not black and white. That's masculine. That's masculinity, right? And it's not even healed masculine, right? It just exerts itself and says it's either this or that. And if I don't get this, then I don't want that, right? How many of you guys know women that are like that? I know women that are like that. How many of you know women that are, if I don't get this, then I'm not doing that? Or I require this, 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 this. And then when you ask them what they have to offer, the list is very short. How many of you guys know someone like that? In the comments, say that's me. Don't say that's me. Say I know someone like that. Or I've heard of people like that, male or female, but mostly female because, right? Because that is unhealthy feminine energy. They're leaning into that masculine side when they've got to find some balance for that. And if a man is doing that, it's the same, right? He's also imbalanced, right? And so it has, it's healed feminine energy is very perceptive, very perceptive. Healed feminine energy it's empathic, it is wise, it is pensive, and then it is very introverted. It is very introverted. The more feminine a person becomes, they become much more introverted. Now they can be extroverted still, but when they're inside of their feminine energy, they understand that in order for them to be intuitive, perceptive, have this knowingness, that they must be introverted in some ways. They must be able to get with themselves. They must be able to go within. They must be able to meditate. They must be able to have this kind of practice that requires the company of no one else. And they must be able to lean into this and love being introverted into themselves. That is healthy feminine energy and how it expresses itself. Okay. So now let's take a look at unhealed expression of feminine energy. Okay. And so really quickly, I'm going to run to the comments. Somebody says, she says, since Jesus wept, I find it as strength for men to express emotion. Absolutely. I like the way you put that. Someone else in the comments says, I'm a girly girl too. Capricorn Aquarius here, a cuffed girl, but I have a masculine side of me. Absolutely. Right. Where's your moon in? Tell me what your moon is in and what your rising is, if you know them. If not, don't worry about it. And then someone says, thank you for sharing that the energies apply to male or female. Absolutely. The law of gender is devoid of sex, right? What a person's sex is, whether they're male or female. The law of gender is just everybody carries both energies. And over the course of our lives, at some point, we've got to, as women, we've got to exhibit masculine energy. And at some point, as men, they've got to exhibit feminine energy. They have to, in order to be connected to their children, in order to be balanced and all of these things, they must be able to exhibit some kind of feminine energy. Someone else says, I know some people, girl, that are like, if it's not my way, it's the highway. And you're like, okay, what are you bringing to the table? The list is very short. It's all masculine energy. And remember I said where you find people that have these kinds of imbalances, you also find where they have a lack of something. I don't care how successful you think they look. Something is lacking if there is a male or female who intends to dominate inside of masculine energy, or where you find a female or male who just sulks in feminine energy and they never step up or speak up or say anything, right? You will ultimately find lack, right? Because this is a universal law that's tied to manifestation and it's tied to our abundance as well. She says, I know someone just like that, man. I know them too. Short list of things they can give, long list of things they want, man. And so it says, I know someone like that, a couple of people, right? Help me find balance and continue to heal my feminine energy. Yes, indeed, right? I believe my moon was in Saturn. What sign was it in? What sign? And so someone says that's very important when it comes to being connected to your children, most males. Absolutely. Absolutely. Where you see a father figure that is always in his masculine energy, you will ultimately find someone. Give me just a second. I'm trying to turn these notifications off, y'all. Okay. All right. Hopefully that'll help. Hopefully that will help. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. Where you find, hopefully that'll help with all the notifications. Where you find a man, male or female, sex doesn't matter here, right? Where you find this person who has a high amount of masculine energy, like a father who is super masculine, or even a single mom who's super masculine with their child, there's a lack of connection. There's a lack of nurturing. There's a lack of so many things that child needs. At some point, they've got to stop and become feminine or step into their feminine energy to hold that child, hug that child, listen to that child, raise the child properly, and get connected to what their needs are. There has to be balance, right? And where that does not happen, then we find someone being outside of the law. Okay. And so as we go through this, when we're looking at imbalanced feminine energy, my hands are itching, imbalanced feminine energy, we find someone struggling to find themselves. These are men and women who stay in certain places longer than they should. You find someone who cannot properly execute something. They don't get things done. They find it challenging to get motivated. They find it challenging to make decisions. They're always indecisive. Oh my God. I just got a flashback. I can't stand indecisive people now. That's like my what do you call it? Not vice, but that's something I can't stand. I'm just gonna say it. I don't like people who take forever to make a decision. Like, get to a yes, get to a no, and go. Do not sit there pining over. Be decisive about what you want in this life. Get it delivered to you. Learn from it, grow from it, whatever. But don't sit there waiting to make a move and then have a comment about everyone else who does make a move, right? They always have an opinion and share about everyone else who's executing and not sitting around waiting for their life to happen, right? I know we all know someone like that, but it gets under my skin. I can't stand it. But that's one of the few things that I just can. I'm like, okay, do I need to order from the menu for you? Because this is taking way longer than it should. I digress. But anyway, someone who cannot make a decision. They are indecisive about everything. They want to know what everybody else thinks and what everyone else has tried. Why can't you just make a decision for yourself? Doesn't matter what everyone else has done. What do you want? Right? Overcome with emotions of others. As soon as they hear about something, it could be someone they don't even know. They get emotional. That's an imbalance of feminine energy. Imbalance of feminine energy. So all of these things I just named means that they have too much feminine energy. So they need to lean more into balancing out their feminine energy and then lean more into balancing it out with masculine energy. Okay. And so when a person has too little feminine energy, they don't have enough. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're exhibiting too much masculine energy. They just aren't exhibiting their feminine energy enough. They are blocked in their thoughts. They are blocked in their higher thought faculties that we discussed early on with the early laws. They are hypercritical of themselves, hypercritical of themselves. They don't feel like they do anything properly. They criticize even the smallest things about themselves, right? Very critical of themselves. And sometimes you will see them project this onto other people. So they're hypercritical of other people too, their children, their friends. They've always got some form of criticism. And it's not even constructive criticism. It's just because they're hypercritical of themselves. So they feel the need to be hypercritical of other people. They are very resistant. Let me tell you something. This is the kind of person, people, male or female, doesn't matter. I want to make sure that I keep saying that. Men, women, doesn't matter, right? But this is the kind of person whose higher chakras are blocked. Their higher chakras are blocked. Here's what that looks like. And what I mean by the higher chakras, the heart chakra sits in the middle, right? We have 7, 3 above the heart, 3 below the heart, right? We got root, sacral, and solar plexus, which is right at the navel below the heart. Once we get to the heart, we have throat, right? Third eye, crown. And then the other chakras that start after the 7 start with that little, if everybody can touch like the back of their head, that little divot right at the bottom of the skull, that little divot right at the bottom of the skull that goes into the back of the neck, that's called the mouth of God. So when energy is moving, when your energy is balanced and you're in meditation, it's moving through your body, we naturally, let me tell you, we naturally live in the higher chakras, right? Sometimes some of us naturally live at the solar plexus, meaning we get this gut feeling. Solar plexus is right above the navel and below the heart. I had a gut feeling about this. Something told me not to do this or that, right? And so they get people who are resistant. They naturally do not use their higher thought faculties, and they're naturally blocked at their higher chakras, throat, third eye, which is between the brows. It's really between the brows, halfway through and halfway through the side of the head. So where these points connect inside of the skull, that's where the third eye is. Okay. So it's not, so it is marked by the space between the brows, but its actual location is halfway through and halfway through. Okay. And so they're blocked at these higher thought faculties, right? So they cannot get this intuitive guidance. And this is why this is an imbalance of feminine energy. They cannot get access to this intuitive guidance that they're looking to get, right? And so because of that, and they find it challenging to communicate properly. This is also why they're hypercritical. You'll naturally see a person with this kind of imbalance and inability to access the higher chakras. They can't speak properly. They can be critical, but when it's time for them to speak their truth, they're quiet. They have nothing to say except be critical of other people. And that shows you that this person is blocked at their throat chakra. There's an imbalance there, right? There's an imbalance. And so one of the things that also happens is the mouth of God, which is back of the head, is also blocked. This is where we get that inspired action. This is where these things drop into us, right? And if you guys want, we can do a series on the chakras because there's hundreds of chakras above your head and below your feet, right? The human being just has issues balancing the first 7. So most people never get into any of the other ones, like the mouth of God and the other ones where energy moves throughout the body. And so one of the things that that we're gonna, somebody on Instagram says, yes, please. Okay, maybe we'll do a chakra series next, right? But so one of the things that that we want to be aware of is that when we're looking at someone needing to express more feminine energy, they naturally, because feminine energy, male or female, feminine energy, naturally, we just said balanced feminine energy always is intuitive. It is always inspired. It is introverted. It understands higher thought faculty. So where you see someone blocked, where you see someone hypercritical, where you see someone back and forth in their mind and they can't make a decision, their higher thought faculties are blocked. They're so unsure of who they are and what they need to do. They're always looking for someone else or looking at someone else to tell them what to do, right? When they don't trust anything that is within them. So that means they've got to lean more. This means that they don't exhibit enough feminine energy. So they've got to find a way to lean more into their feminine energy to balance it out. Okay. And so this person, this kind of person, you may also see them, always have, they find it challenging to generate new thought. So they've always got an answer. They don't even think about what they're saying. You ask a question, right? And they don't even think about their response. They naturally just have a response. And their response can be a response that is obsolete. It doesn't make logical sense. They don't stop to think that the world has evolved 100 years later and they're still repeating things from like 1827. Like, why are you still thinking that way? The human being has moved on, right? They don't think, they don't give themselves space to create new thought, right? And so they're blocked in this way. They're blocked with their higher chakras that we all naturally live inside of, right? And so they're hypercritical, they're blocked, they're resisted, they're unfulfilled. Duh, they gotta be, because they don't get a chance to get any inspired action. They don't have, the mouth of God is shut down. They don't get a chance to let anything special come through. They don't have access to it. So of course they live unfulfilled lives. How can divine intelligence express itself through someone who's shut down? Right? So, and then they are disconnected from themselves and other people around them, because they will find that if you're hypercritical of someone else, you take too long to make a decision. After a while, the number of people that are around you is just going to decrease. Less and less people intuitively understand that energy is catchy. And they're just going to be around these kinds of people when they're exhibiting this kind of energy less and less. Okay. So that is someone who needs to raise or increase, lean more into their feminine energy, or understand why they're blocked in that way. This can be a man blocked this way. It can be a woman blocked this way as well. Okay. Really quickly, when we go to the comments, someone says pet peeves. Yes, that's what it's called, a pet peeve, right? Pet peeve 101. Good Lord, make a decision. Someone says they're having so much understanding right now. She says my earrings are fierce. Oh, thank you so much, Janae. Someone else says, I can't remember what sign I'm in. Oh, she says my mom was really good with astrology. She's just in that age 53. Okay, breast cancer. Okay, all right. And then, yep, somebody else put their hand up. Somebody says, wow. Yep, I'm so glad you guys are getting something out of this. I know I'm less obsessed with status and more obsessed with revolution. I want to go to save the world. You want to do something to save the world. I assume that's what you're saying. Let me know if that's what you're saying. She says, I know a 50-year-old Virgo who acts like a 16-year-old that is so critical of others but can't speak their own truth. Super critical, blocked. She is blocked. And I'm going to tell you, because remember, we said we evolved this over lifetimes. One of the things that we cover in the course with Legacy is the evolution of the chakras in the body as the body systems actually grow and evolve as well. And so our students understand this because all of these types of things have to do with how someone stays healthy, how they stay well, and then how they pass this information on to their family members to stay well too, and how they assist their clients in staying well when they have this understanding. So when we cover these, one of the things that we cover is how chakras develop over the years, over from age 1, and I think we go up to like age 49, and how every 7 years there's a different theme of the chakras that is being created or that's being exhibited. And so it's no wonder why. And one of the things I want to say is when, so two things. One, it's not when a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old is constantly saying no, the solar plexus is being developed. Their root chakra and solar plexus are being developed. Their ability to say, I am not you. That is the when a child turns 2 years old, and for some of them it's 3, but mainly at 2, when they say terrible twos, that is the first time that child's chakra, the solar plexus, seat of power, starts to develop itself. And that's the first time that human being determines that they are separate from their mother or from the way that they came here. And so they are exerting their power and their ability to say, I can make a decision and my decision is no. Even if I don't know how to say yes just yet, I know how to make a decision. I am not you. I don't want to do what you say. So the answer for me is no. But in many cases, what happens? That child gets shut down. You do what I say. You do how I say it. You do it when I say it. And sometimes this never stops. Now, for some people, and I'm going back to the person who acts like a 16-year-old, where the trauma happens is where the person stops and continues to exhibit that energy. So it could, if it happened in their teens, you could see them acting like they're 15, 16, critical of everything, being a mean girl, perhaps, or whatever, right? But it's a sign, right, that there is healing, right? That there's healing that needs to be done, right? And all of us have encountered something, right? But at 16 probably was the first time that person took charge and they stood up for themselves concerning something. And now they're exhibiting this in their 50s, 30s, 40s, whatever, right? And then they've just gone throughout their lives and continue to attract situations that leave them in this trauma, that make them continue to exhibit this trauma, that make them think that it's okay to behave that way. It's okay to be that way. And it really isn't, And so when we're looking at this, when we see that it takes a lifetime to balance out masculine and feminine energy, whether we're male or female, doesn't matter. It takes a lifetime. So you're going to always encounter someone somewhere on the journey, in some kind of way, And so we must show people grace. We must give them the space. Now, if it's to our detriment, that we must release them on our journey and send them on to their next and best highest place so that we can get on to ours as well. Okay. Real quick in the comments, someone says, blessings to all, late, but I'm here. Definitely will recap. Excellent, excellent. She says, create new thought. We absolutely must. Learning. Yes, indeed. She says, I was trying to say, I want to say the world obsessed with status revolution. Yes. That is the time to develop a child, not to shut them down. Yep. To ask them, well, what do you think? Why do you think I'm telling you not to touch the stove? Well, what do you think is going to happen to you if you touch the stove? I think it's hot, and everybody's a different kind of learner. So for some people, they just need to feel the heat a little bit and they'll say, oh, I agree with mommy, and that's just an example, right? But some kids or some people learn different. And then some people just say, okay, I agree with you. You're the adult. Clearly, you know what's going on. You're bigger than me. You said no. I'm gonna lean into that no with you, right? And so later on, those same individuals may need to bump up their masculine energy to be able to stand up for themselves and not just go with the flow, because that's too far in their feminine side. Someone on Instagram says, what are some ways that you can actively create and seek new thought in your own time? Several different ways. One of the easiest ways is to lean into, I think it was, the law of compensation, where you are starting to raise your use value. So books, things, learning, higher learning helps us lean into this to help us generate new ideas and new thoughts. Like you can take one subject, even if it's just the subject of swimming, and learn one new thing about swimming every day that will allow you to increase your use value in some way. So when we start to lean into these things, we naturally, remember we said cells that fire together wire together. And so when we naturally keep thinking of different types of things and learning, we start to create these neurons, these pathways in the brain, and we use a lot more of our higher thought faculty than we did before. And so if you're looking to do something like that, the easiest thing is to try to read a book a month, try to read a book a week. Your life would be completely different if you listened, even an audiobook, one audiobook a week. 4 to 10 hours on that audiobook a week would completely shift your use value and the things that you know, right? So keep that in mind. There's a bunch of ways to do it, but books, learning stimulates your higher thought faculty, and you'll eventually be able to see people who don't, people who never read anything new. They are just recycling, shuffling information in their brain and spitting it out as a you know, as a response to something, and they didn't put any thought into it, or dare I say, they don't have any other new thought to share concerning it, right? So keep this in mind. Really quickly, as we close out, there are a couple of things that I want you to ask yourselves, okay? Um, when we're looking at this. So when we're talking about health, wealth, and destiny, there are some things we want to ask ourselves when we're talking about masculine energy, feminine energy, leaning more in, right? The first thing we want to ask ourselves is, which energy do I naturally exert the most? Which energy do I naturally exert the most? Am I more feminine? Do I exert my feminine energy the most? What do people see first? What do they feel first? Because they're going to feel you before they see you. What do they feel first when they see you or when they experience you? What are you naturally exerting or exhibiting the most? Okay. The next question is, what are some ways that I can realign? Now, we talked about raising our use value, reading books and learning and things like that. But what are some ways that I can realign? What are some ways I can lean more into the feminine side of me? Do I need to do some extreme self-care? Do I need to do some be a little bit more introverted for now, right? Right. And so the third question is, what energy feels more uncomfortable for me? Here's why I asked that. So if it feels so, like early on for me, right, when I was shifting to entrepreneurship, being masculine, right, coming from a medical background and things like that. And I was very assertive in anesthesiology. I was very assertive. You had to be, like, you're who everyone is looking at to sometimes fix the mistake of other people, right? Of other providers. I hate to say it, but sometimes that's it. You're the emergency person. You're the hard stick. You're the person that has to come in and call the shots and clean everything up, right? Fix everything. And so I learned to have a much thicker skin going through Emory University School of Medicine. I learned to have a thick skin, but I was still very, very feminine. And I would say that gave me some assertion or some ability to be assertive in entrepreneurship. But in entrepreneurship, there's a different kind of assertiveness. There are times where your feminine energy and your ability to be very feminine or lean into your feminine side gets you through more doors. It just gets you further, right? Laying on a little bit more sugar just gets you a little bit further. And so being a certain there, so it's a fine balance. It's a beautiful dance to be able to lean into one side and then lean into another, right? But being confident enough in your masculine energy to know when it needs to be displayed and when people need to know that they can't play with you, right? And so both are needed, right? Whether you're male or female doesn't matter. Both are needed. And so where your manifestation lies, though, is in the energy that feels the most uncomfortable for you. So in order for my business to grow, I had to exhibit more than just a tough skin. Like I had to really lean into the action taking, execution side of being goal oriented. I had to lean into that side of my masculine energy. Now I was naturally very, very feminine, so I never had to worry about anything like that. But when it came to being a full time business owner and needing to grow a team and to grow a company and then partner successfully with other companies and evolve and create, yeah, I had to step into my masculine energy a little bit more. I had to then find that balance, and that was very uncomfortable for me. And so, where you find your success is when you balance this law of gender out, right? And where you find success and where you find your manifestations coming forward is where you lean into the energetic piece that is the most uncomfortable for you. That is the most uncomfortable for you. And if for some people that's masculine energy, then like me, then you have to lean into that, right? If for some people that's feminine, that's the more feminine energy, you have to go for it and lean into it a little bit more, right? Be more intuitive. If you're too masculine, be more intuitive, be more introverted, right? Exercise your creative expression a lot more instead of being so quick to execute and get things done and solve problems. Stop for a moment and give yourself an opportunity to dream and allow divine inspiration to start to come to you as a person who is too far in masculine energy. Whether you're male or female is irrelevant. Everyone has to balance these out. Okay. The other questions that we want to ask ourselves is, which energy feels the most comfortable for me? So which one makes me the most uncomfortable? And then which one feels the most comfortable for me? And then the last one says, identify ways to step into the uncomfortable energy. How can you ease more into the feminine side of things? How can you ease more into being a little bit more being a little bit more feminine and more in tune with things? Okay. Really quickly, I'm gonna run to the comments and then we're gonna get out of here, you guys. All right. So really quickly, let me see here. Um, She says, that makes so much sense. She was okay, good deal. And that is what I thought. Yep, there you go. It's a lot of stuff that happens, and that's where the growth stops. Someone else says, grace, space, and release. Yep, give people grace, give them space, and because the development of and the ability to live inside of the universal laws and allow them to help us expand and evolve happens over our entire lifetime. So no matter where we meet someone, not one of us will ever be perfect. Every single one of us is at bat. Every single one of us is at bat, right? And yes, there it may look like some people are striking out. But remember, we talked about the law of rhythm, ebbs and flows, ups and downs, valleys and peaks, right? Every single one of us has them. And so we must be fair. We must show grace and space and give space to people who are evolving, right? And so she says, great follow up discovery questions. And then the last thing says, great call out for the feminine energy transition from corporate to entrepreneurship and growing through. Yes, absolutely. It takes some time to do that. Find success and balance where you are most, yes, wherever you're most comfortable, lean into the other side of things. Really quickly, before we hop off, make sure you send someone love and light in the comments. As soon as you see your name as well, send love and light back to someone. And then, since this is the last day of our series, we'll put a poll inside of the group, I think, but we're either going to do the dimensions, the 9 dimensions, and that's some thick learning. So I don't know if I want to do that one just yet. But chakras, chakra balance, how to eat for the chakras, and all of those different things, and how to understand when someone's chakra is over or underactive. Chakras don't close or shut down, no matter what anyone says. They're always there, and they usually compensate for one another, just like our body systems do, right? They're attached to our body systems, and they usually compensate for one another when one is over or underactive. So your third eye is not closed. It's just not open as it needs to be, right? Or it's just or it's open but not sensing the way that it should. Okay. Or some people got, God forbid, theirs is too open and they sense and perceive everything, right? And so we can talk a little bit about that and what a person can do, physiologically, because it's tied to a physiological system, how they can balance that out. Okay. So if you want the slides, this series is done. If you want to look at all 12 of the universal laws, they are on YouTube in a playlist, and they are also in the Legacy Wellness Tribe.com, legacywellnesstribe.com. Ethiopian, thank you for being here on Instagram. Thank you so much. Love and light to you as well. And so if you want to get to all of those videos, if you go to legacywellnesstribe.com, it'll drop you right into that Facebook group. At the top of that group are all of these videos pinned there. They will not stay there. So you must go and follow us over on YouTube so that you've got the playlist, okay? And if you missed the manifestation series with all the phases and levels to manifestation and calling in and activating your manifestations, better check that series out. It's also in a playlist as well, okay? All right. Please send love and light to somebody in the comments. We're hopping on. Just so glad I had the opportunity to join. I've gained so much insight. Such a pleasure to have you here. If you want the slides, my apologies. Make sure that you text #affirm to 404-738-6301. I will be sending out a link towards the end of the week. Please give me some time to upload all these slides, all 12 lessons, so that you can have them if you want to continue your research and your learning. Okay. But if you want those, you got to text #affirm, because I'm only sending it out to that list of people so that I don't bug people who don't want them. #affirm to 404-738-6301. Okay. All right. She says these lessons have been amazing and inspiring. It is never too late to be open for learning and growing. I agree, Suzanne. Love and light to all of you guys. Thank you so much. Love and light to you as well. Listen, it's been a pleasure sharing time and space with every single one of you. I am grateful that I get to do this work at this time on this planet, in this universe, in this way, in this body. Nothing brings me more joy than to be able to do it this way. So love and light to every single one of you. Have an incredible, incredible evening.